In the midst of social distancing and business lockdowns, a freelance writer and a graphic artist bought a bus, converted it into a tiny home on wheels, and moved out of our 4-bedroom house. 1 year later, we downsized to a Chevy Express. Now we travel between Texas and Pennsylvania from April through November while exploring small towns with rich histories. In the winter, we hunker down in Texas in our schoolie and dream of our next big trip.
We're Alan and Teresa.
And we're rolling with our nomies.
Okay, so we're in Taylor, Texas this morning. Small town just outside of Austin. It's a Texas Main Street city, which means it's getting resources from the Texas Historical Commission to revitalize the city. And you'll see a lot of the buildings in town here are either slated to be revitalized or they're currently being revitalized. And so you see a lot of empty buildings or buildings under construction and being rehabilitated in that effort. Also, their historic walking tour is a little bit outdated, so you'll notice that too as we do the video. But it really is a cute town. They got some beautiful buildings here, and we're going to walk around and take a look at some of them.
Okay.
The railroad was the centerpiece of early Taylor commerce. In the 1870s, the I&GN depot was also used as the Union Station. That's the International and something. I'll have to look that up. I'll get back to you. Missouri Pacific Railway came to Taylor in 1882 and was located on 1st Street, which is where we're standing right here. And a large depot was built that has since been demolished and replaced by a smaller depot operated by Union Pacific.
That would be that smaller building.
Yeah, you can see their logo and everything all over it there. Taylor is an Amtrak stop between Austin and Fort Worth, but the building is not utilized.
Right.
And there is a sign there that says private property, no trespassing, so that's why we're across the street.
Right, that building's not utilized. If you notice right here, there's picnic tables and the Amtrak sign is right there. So, they don't use the building. Sad.
So in 1917, this hotel was built. It was the Murphy Hotel, but they changed its name to Hotel Blazomar when the new owners, Howard Bland, A.J. Zilker, and T.W. Marsh, took ownership. The 4-story structure was fireproof and had steam heat and ceiling fans in each of its 90 rooms. That would have been a big deal back then.
Yeah.
A ballroom on the 2nd floor was used for social gatherings. The hotel was also served as the Greyhound bus station. In 1920, the St. Louis Browns wintered in Taylor and roomed at the hotel. The coffee shop was the only place to get a meal after 9 p.m. and was well known for its chili.
Okay.
So we're looking at the Thompson buildings, and you can see the Thompson building on the one on the left.
The yellow one.
There. The yellow one. You have the tallest one. They were built in 1889. They've been restored. And the one on the left there, the yellow building, houses the Woodsman and Red Ryder Studios. There's a dog grooming service in the green building. In the early days, it was home to Taylor Meat Company, which was famous for Red Taylor meat wieners.
Okay.
Now we're looking at a beautiful building here that was the first national bank, built in 1883. Currently, it is being restored. The exterior of the building was plastered, textured and raked with joints to resemble cut stone. Pressed metal cornices were manufactured in Austin. The front part was used as the bank, and the south part originally housed a saloon and billiard parlor with a Masonic hall on the second floor.
Okay, well, we found the Masonic Hall again. Okay.
Okay, this cool looking building was the Thompson and Tucker Lumber Company. They had a lumber yard, office, and storage in the building. The second floor, accessed by exterior stairs, was the YMCA.
The stairs are on the other side of the building.
Yeah, I'm guessing so.
I can see them.
Oh, yep, there they are. There were wooden sidewalk canopies that originally ran the length of both north and east sides. The building later housed a Safeway grocery store, followed by Taylor Paint and Hardware. Part of the building burned and was restored by the Taylor Conservation and Heritage Society. Now it's owned by Art Office Signs.
Okay.
All right, the Kinsel building was opened in 1924 by Frank Kinsel Sr. It was Taylor Harness and Saddle Shop. The second floor was added in 1928, and the name was changed in 1930 to Frank Kinsel Hardware. Frigidaire air conditioning and heating was added in 1949, and an article in 1938 mentioned the store sold quality hardware and the finest radios on the market. Chuck and Hoppy's Marketplace occupies the first floor, and the top floors include the home of Taylor Conservation and Heritage Society and an apartment.
Right.
Oh, cool. Multi-use building. Now, across the street, we have Titsworth Building. The Titsworth Building was originally the commercial hotel constructed in the late 1800s. It burned around 1912, and the upper stories were not replaced. It has been completely restored and houses 120 art gallery, retail shops, and studios.
Huh.
Okay, so this long building here was the Sturgis Goldstein Department Store. Now it's known as McCrory Timmerman Building. It was built in 1888 and for many years housed McCrory's department store. It had just about anything you could want, the ad said. The totally renovated building now includes Texas Beer Company, Pilot Knob Wine Shop, curbside coffee, offices, and 4 apartments.
Nifty.
All right, these buildings were the James W. Powell Rosenberg Department Store, built in the early 1900s, and it later became Gelman's Department Store. Tex Fit now occupies the renovated building, which is, I'm guessing,
The
hot spot now.
Well, no, it's going to be the center part. Clothes, accessories, furniture, gifts.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that company. That company may not be there.
Right, right.
The Dahlia Drugstore on the corner of 3rd and Main is a brick structure that can be documented as early as 1893. That's the tall one there on the right. And remodeling following a fire was completed in 1927. It was later known as Loon and John's Drugstore. That's the brick building there. It's now empty, looks like. The upstairs served as a residence. Obviously, the black and white buildings here were refaced, because that was brick at one time. If you look at the side of the building,
it's still brick.
Yeah. So, interesting. Richter Furniture Store was built in 1904, and it's housed a furniture business since then. A cast iron storefront and ransomed display windows are original and are of the Mesker family facades. Richter received the Taylor Conservation and Heritage Society's Community Preservation Award in 1987. That looks like it's
it is for lease. It no longer houses a furniture store. They need to update their
The
tour.
Taylor Office Products building is the original location of Howard Theater, which later moved across the street, and I think is a much better looking building.
I've got a picture of it I'll insert right here.
Because of the neon sign, which is very distinctive for that early 20th century theaters. And we love looking at those. The theater was replaced by a Dick and Ayers nickel and dime store, and then later became an antique mall. Now it is Taylor Sporting Goods, FedEx Shipping, and Taylor Office Products. The Pressler Hewitt Drugstore was located here at this building, built in 1914. At one time it was a Blosky shoe store. It's now owned by Calvin and Anna Jaro and has been recognized in the National Register of Historic Places. It's also received an award of excellence from Taylor Main Street. Currently, Cherry Tree Vintage and the Nest Box Home Mercantile are located in the building. Actually, it's Taylor's Soap Bar
and Dee's Flowers and Gifts.
And there's also an upstairs apartment, which you can see.
Right.
Well, you can always tell a U.S. Post Office building. This one was built in 1929 and 30, constructed in the Renaissance Revival style. It has many fine exterior and interior details, such as marble stairs and metal railings and multi-paned transom windows. It's recorded in the Texas Historic Landmark.
It is a gorgeous post office.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
But like banks, you can't mistake them.
Right, you can't. The International Order of Oddfellows building was built in 1907 by the IOOF as a lodge hall. The ground floor was used for printing and newspaper publishing of the Taylor Daily Democrat. Exterior walls are concrete block, stylistically eclectic, with castellated parapets and bay windows. It is representative of the picturesque movement of the early 20th century and was once home to Cowan Home Decorating, but now houses Mezuzah. Once was Little Liberty, whatever that is. The Threadgill building was built in 1893. In 1916, it housed a telephone exchange and later the post office. It was also the location of Ed Carver's auto store and now houses Trawville Antiques, at one time Summer House Gifts. Texas Power and Light, located at 407 North Main, was built in 1930 and is now being used as a beauty shop and gift shop.
It's actually an antique store.
Yeah, it looks like an antique store. The building has patterned stucco and black Carrara glass. Okay, this corner brick building was built in 1931. It was originally the Star Tire Store. It had gas pumps on the property during the 1920s. My guess is on the side there,
right
between the road and the building. It was a Plain Jane's on Main. Now it is a music store. Usually, churches are some of the most beautiful buildings we come to in any of the towns we visit. This is the first Christian church, built in 1891 on land purchased in 1878 from the Texas Land Company. The original frame structure was replaced by a brick edifice designed in the Gothic Revival style. It was recorded as a Texas Historic Landmark in 1970.
It looks like a castle.
Yeah, I like that.
There is something to be said for a castle.
Yeah, I wish the keep part of it was higher. You know, the rooftop is higher than the keep. It might not have been that way.
You can't design it that way.
Yeah, but it's still
under
pretty.
Reconstruction. It's going to be something. It's going to be Talbot Commons.
All right. The first Presbyterian church was organized in 1876. It was the first church of any denomination established in Taylor. A frame church was built in 1878 and in 1912 replaced by the current stone structure.
It's under revitalization. It looks like it's going to be something, but they are keeping the church. So that's a good thing.
Okay. All right, so we've walked Taylor. Some interesting things about Taylor here in Texas. It was initially called Taylorsville, incorporated as Taylorsville in the 1870s, and then in 1892 they changed the name to just Taylor. It's also the boyhood home of Tex Avery, who is probably the most famous cartoon animator in history. Worked for MGM, created some of the iconic cartoons that we know, Daffy Duck and several others.
Bugs Bunny?
Bugs Bunny. He introduced the slapstick version of cartoon animation that is very popular, still popular to this day, and my favorite. I like all that slapstick stuff. And then, of course, Billy Picket, who was the first black cowboy who was initiated into the Rodeo Hall of Fame. And so he's a famous bulldog rodeo cowboy. He grew up in this town as well. So Taylor has some interesting history to it, some interesting culture, and we're really looking forward to their revitalization efforts being completed. Maybe we'll come back and see what it looks like afterwards. Anyways, that's all we got for today. Thanks for coming along.
All right. If I don't do this right, then I'm going to be on the bad side of my wife. So y'all bear with me and pray for me. But while you're doing that, don't forget, share us with your friends. Like us if you like us if you don't. Subscribe to the channel. It helps us out. God bless.